You guys, I am so sick and tired of watching Dallas Cowboys defenses play like this. And unfortunately, Dallas Cowboy fans have seen this movie too many times, especially recently with what they went through last year. I went back and looked at some of the numbers. And listen, through 4 games last season, Mike Zimmer, of course, he was a new defensive coordinator last season. His units gave up an average of 355 yards a game, an average of 26 points a game in the first 4. And Mike, you had the indignity of watching it in person. So we'll start with you. What was the worst part of what you saw in person at Soldier Field today?
What was the worst part, man?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can drill down on just one. You know what? The fourth and goal. The fourth and goal, I think, was the worst one. They were at the 4-yard line. There's not that much field to cover. There's not that much field to cover. How do you leave a guy that wide open when there's that little surface area to cover?
Consistency?
That one was unbelievable. The flea flicker, I heard Stretch saying this on Sports Special. Fine, you're going to get suckered in by a play like that. That one's understandable. That one's explainable. 4th and goal from the 4, and you leave a guy completely wide open in the back of the end zone. That one is inexcusable.
The one thing about the flea flicker, though, you guys, is it was the worst flea flicker back pass in the history of football. That ball was in the air for like 4 seconds, and I'm like, certainly they'll be able to, gain ground and get back in the. No, not this secondary. Michelle, what about you? What'd you think?
On Mike's point here, not only was no one close. I mean, seriously, when he caught the ball, when DJ Moore caught the ball, he was so wide open that there was barely any Cowboy secondary player on the screen. Like, you could barely even see a player within the frame of the screen. I don't know. I think that one was probably the worst. I for a second there, I thought when Mike was saying the 4th and 1, it was 4th and 4, but when Dallas was on the 1-yard line and they had 2 attempts to get in the end zone, I thought that the defense is objectively bad. The offense carries a bit more of the responsibility, I think, or at least that's what we assumed going into this season. And through 3 weeks of play, they have to carry the load and the responsibility. So for them to not be able to punch it in from the 1-yard line, and you got 2 attempts at it, I think that was really the end of the game. That interception.
Mike, I'm curious because, again, 3 defensive coordinators now in 3 years. There's been a lot of change on that side of the ball. And yet, and I know the saying goes, it's players, not plays. They have to make the plays work. Is this a personnel issue or is this a scheme issue, Mike, or both, in your opinion?
I do think it's both. I think that they are misusing Donovan Wilson. He's not a free safety. He's a box safety, and they're trying to shoehorn him into playing deep coverage over the top. That's not what he's built for. That's not what he's good at. I'm not sure that they have somebody who's great at that, but he's certainly not the guy that is supposed to be in that role. And if they could use him and accentuate his strengths, he can be a useful player in this league. We have seen that in recent years. They're not using him properly, but there's definitely issues with the personnel as well. It goes beyond just the scheme. There are struggles in every facet of this defense.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also think that there is a baseline in terms of being able to get a defense together and to have them play cohesively. And unfortunately, the Cowboys are nowhere near that baseline. I mean, I'm wondering what happened at training camp, right, to where we've kind of seen this, and I think this word is perfect. There's been a disintegration of the defense. It's not integrated anymore, and it's not cohesive. And the last thing they are is tied together on a string, and it's hard to understand, and it feels as though, there's a lack of understanding of some of the basic tenets of what Matt Eberflus is asking these guys to do. I mean, Coach did a fantastic job, Glenn Smith did, on Sports Special of showing one play in particular. There was a spy on Caleb Williams, and the safety, who was supposed to be looking at DJ Moore, was flowing with the quarterback. while there was still a spy for the quarterback on the same play. And it's just, the lack of, and it's not just communication, it really is integration and coordination of the defense. That's what's really, it's disturbing. And I think that even goes kind of beyond, at least for me, I think that goes beyond the roster and beyond the players that are on this team. I think it's both. It's the inability to play the scheme and maybe, I shouldn't say maybe, and the Cowboys do need more talent defensively, especially on the front line. And I'll throw that one to you, Michelle. When you look at that front four, what jumps out to you in terms of what they are lacking?
When Andrew asked that question, my mind immediately went to, I think it's more personnel when you're talking about the defensive line and up front. They just don't have the same elite level of athleticism on the edges or up in the middle. Mozzie Smith in his debut did not register a tackle.
Who?
And
Sorry, I couldn't resist. It was too
right.
easy. It was right there.
And then, so I think up front, it's especially personnel.
That's
I think
foul,
as you
man.
move your way back, that becomes more of a blend of personnel and scheme and just lack of understanding of how to operate within it. But no, I think, in week 1 and week 2, I thought there were some bright flashes from guys like Solomon Thomas and Osa. Of course, you'd expect that. But what confused me the most today was that there was no pressure on Caleb Williams. Actually, coming into this week, I was looking at some numbers. Y'all remember that he was sacked 1,000 times last year, and this was one of the worst offensive lines protecting him.
That was a literal stat, I'm pretty sure. That was a literal stat.
Yes. No hyperbole.
Why I said literally. No, I'm kidding. But through 2 weeks this season, their left tackle, Braxton Jones, had allowed 12 quarterback hurries, 2 sacks. On the right side, you have Darnell Wright, allowing a team low 7 quarterback hurries coming into this game. Today, the Cowboys, no sacks on Caleb Williams. Sam Williams is the only guy who recorded a quarterback pressure. So this is not like they were up against some prolific offensive line that has just protected Caleb, through these first couple of weeks. No, if you're going to be able to get pressure on anybody, it should be on the Bears quarterback. And not only could they not, Caleb had all day today. And so no one's getting home up front, but then every receiver has at least 5+ yards of separation between them and anyone in a Cowboys uniform on the back end. So where on the field are the defenders? There was so much space. I think Schottenheimer said it in his post-game press conference. He said, it was Tom Brady on the broadcast. He goes, there's no pass rush and there's no deep coverage. So
it's hard to do.
What is there?
It's hard to do.
There's no defense.
It is. And it's funny, Michelle, you said all day. I have a shorthand when I'm logging games. Whenever the quarterback has too long, I just put all day. And I was literally writing all day today. Enough of that, all right? We're going to end that segment with that because we do have a lot more to talk about as the Cowboys get ready to face the guy who could have got some pressure on the quarterback.
Maybe.
What's his name?
Micah, I think.
I think it is Micah.
That sounds right.
We're going to talk about Micah, who's coming up next, plus more about that Cowboys offense as well.
Joe, what we learned so far is that the Packers can beat good teams but lose to bad teams, which gives the Cowboys some hope heading into the next matchup, at least the way things are looking.
Absolutely. Of course, Micah Parsons coming to town. So let's talk about the guy who was the best Cowboys defensive player, perhaps the best player on the team. He didn't have a particularly good day. Listen, he hadn't really gotten off to a superb start. He's got a sack and a half through 3 games. He didn't have one today. And after the game today, he said that his team really had an awful showing.
That's a nice way of putting it.
I'll put it euphemistically that way. He was much more to the point, and there may have been a little profanity involved. But listen, they didn't play well, so I think they're going to be ready to roll Sunday night when they come in here. Michelle, I'll start with you. What are you looking forward to seeing from Micah Parsons most when he comes back to AT&T Stadium?
Already recorded 2 videos this week. One saying that I had a nightmare about him walking back into AT&T Stadium, and 2, I don't know if y'all saw Mason Thomas sack Jackson Arnold yesterday. His first sack in the second half when he was let back into the game was him crawling I said polar bear jumping on top of Jackson. I fear that is precisely what we're going to see out of Micah Parsons on Sunday. I think, we know he is such a passionate player that he's going to have so much emotion and extra intensity about his game on Sunday that I expect, if anything, you mentioned his stat line just now. I expect he probably doubles that. I don't know. But look, the offensive line has been okay, but I think Dak was sacked twice today. There's either two
That's
or
correct.
more.
That's correct.
So I think with the athleticism of someone like a Micah Parsons, it wouldn't be surprising if he gets to Dak.
So as the Packers apologist on the panel here, Mike has actually been playing fantastic. It just hasn't shown up on the stat sheet, and I think Mike's going to agree with me on that. My question to Mike is again, that is part of it. But, like, even if he doesn't register a sack, he's impacting the play in a different way, forcing the ball out early. That's what the Bears did a little bit with Dak, and he has been good at getting the ball out. But how can the Cowboys offense combat a Packers defense that has really tamped down on some really quality offenses so far early in the season, Mike?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Andrew. I think you've got to look at more than just the sack numbers to determine whether or not somebody's having a good season. It's why I felt like the talking point about Micah Parsons not having sacks late in regular seasons or in playoff games wasn't always perfectly illustrative of what his impact was on the football field. If you've watched the Packers play their first couple of games this season, he's been making an impact beyond just the sack and a half that he has on the stat sheet. And I know that Joe knows that too, just to be absolutely abundantly clear on that.
Just digging my own hole, Mike. Go ahead.
I'm 1,000 miles away. I can't see facial expressions. I'm just making sure. But yes, this is a problem for the Cowboys because he's going to be all over Dak Prescott on Sunday. The Cowboys' offensive line, to Michelle's point, has not been terrible, but they certainly haven't been great either, and their tackle positions haven't been their strongest parts of the offensive line so far this season. Micah Parsons on Terrence Steele is a mismatch, and Green Bay's going to exploit that. And Green Bay's got a defense that is a lot more than just number one out there. This is going to be probably one of the harder games for the Cowboys to move the football, as good as their offense can be when they are fully healthy. And it sounds like CeeDee Lamb's going to be out there and they may be fully healthy. But it's going to be harder to move the football this week against Green Bay than it's probably been each of these first three games of the season.
Yeah, doubling down on that point, Mike, I mean, Micah Parsons against Terrence Steele, Micah Parsons against Tyler Guyton, definitely advantage Packers. And listen, when they do the T&E stunts, I think the only time he wouldn't have an advantage is when he goes up against Tyler Smith. And that would be a push. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, I just think that hell hath no fury like a lion scorned. And he is going to come in here and I think it is going to be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You okay, Michelle?
Especially a lion who recently had to clean up his bed.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
So, he's got to worry about his den, all kinds of stuff going on there. Listen, I think this is one of those statement opportunities. The fact that it's on Sunday night, this has everything set up for Micah Parsons to have one of those nights, and we get to go run and see what Jerry Jones has to say about it, because as we know, it's a soap opera 365 days a year.